Go long for season-long foliar disease protection that starts at plant. Only Xyway brand fungicides from FMC provide season-long foliar disease protection from the start. Active ingredient flutriafol moves through your corn plants as they grow for inside-out protection from roots to tassel. Growers and retailers are sharing their Xyway brand fungicide success stories at xyway.ag.fmc.com. Always read and follow all label directions.
Sometimes in life, you find yourself on the right side of the line.
Do you think there's a little PTSD somewhere in there in the biathlon? I mean, you've got somebody wore out to their wits' end, and now you're going to hand them a rifle? Is that really a good idea?
I mean, I'd be like that one girl, Carrie Strug, and when she made that jump with a broken ankle, I could do that.
Live from Texas, this is the Dryline Farmer Podcast. You hear that? It's Brent and Landon, and this is the Dryline Farmer Podcast.
You got that straight. This is the Dryline Farmer Podcast, and you've got Brent Carlson. I am your host of this great hairy episode, and with me as always, and hopefully for the foreseeable future, Landon Nolan. How's it going?
Oh, it's going good, Brent. What are you up to?
I am doing a podcast episode right now. What are you doing?
Same.
Samesies. Hey, it's 7:45 here. What time is it there?
Yeah. How far apart do you think we are?
We're in the same time zone. Well, we finally got our office reference right out of the way right at the start of this episode. But hey, guys, we are excited that everybody's listening this week. We've got a great one for you again. We've got a Disney death count episode. We're real excited to get to that. We had the whole January 6th shenanigans that was commemorated, or what's the word, Landon? Not commemorate, not celebrated, acknowledged. What would you go with?
I'd go with commemorating.
Okay, what about overreacting?
Yes.
Okay, we can go with that, or commemorating, because like 9/11, you commemorate it?
Yeah,
or
you remember.
Or just remember it, because it's not. I mean, it's an anniversary, but it's got to be. I don't know. You commemorate bad stuff. You celebrate good stuff. There we go. Well, whatever the case, January 6th is come and gone, and frankly, if you don't remember where you were when something happened, it couldn't have been that big of a deal, Landon. When was the last? Where were you when you had your last peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Let's see, 8th grade.
I remember she almost touched it.
It was the first or second time I was in 8th grade.
Okay, that was the second time I got crap.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of my measure on how significant events in time is where, if you can remember where you are when whatever such and such happened. And the only thing I can remember about that day is it was instant messaging a buddy of mine saying, "Man, they're really kind of getting with it up there in D.C." And that's like, and then I went on about my business. So it was quite an interesting day. Well, the death count of that thing was 1, and so as bad as that was, which was a terrible, tragic thing, I was looking up comparable points in history and media and popular culture. And I couldn't get past the Disney death count. I just typed it in the Google search bar, and up came 10. What do you get, like 2 billion results? It sounds like I'm popping on this thing, Landon. Hang on a second. Okay, it's not doing it anymore. That's much better. So I got like 2 billion results in like 0.4 seconds or something. I don't know why that's supposed to impress us, but whatever the case, that's what I got. But I typed in Disney death count, and of course I got the very first result. It was from a Disney death count, some kind of not Wikipedia, but the Game Theorists Wiki. I don't know why. When did that become? Was it the WikiLeaks guy that started the whole Wiki thing, or When did that get into our zeitgeist? I like using that word.
Zeitgeist? Man, that's a good word.
Do you need to look it up real quick?
I need to wiki that.
Well, whatever the case, I got Disney Death Count, and this is what the first site that I picked up and pulled up, and danged if it wasn't a winner. So we're gonna go ahead and get right into it, and so the Disney Death Count. This is a 3-part series on film theory. We're not going to get that deep. We're just going to go ahead and go to the movie count here. So right off the bat, they have the no kills movies in the Disney death count list here. So a lot of these you might not have heard of. And Landon, tell me, I'm going to list off some of these movies. You tell me if you're disappointed that there wasn't a murder or some kind of death. First, right off the bat, is Dumbo. Now, that came out in 1941, and it says, movies like Dumbo are all no-kill movies. This sounds like a no-kill animal shelter. Do you feel they probably could have offed somebody in Dumbo?
Yeah, you would think you would want to hate the circus people a little bit, but
I mean,
kind of terrible.
That was in 1941, so the animal rights and the PETA people really hadn't taken off by that point. So chances are it was, if that was made in 1999 or 1991 instead of 41, it might have had a little bit.
No, that was 41. Dumbo?
No, I said if it was made in 1991, 50 years later or something, you would have the activists out there. So they would probably be calling for blood. So, Landon, stop me if you've heard. I'm going to list off some of these I've never heard of. Saludos Amigos.
I don't know that one.
Victory Through Air Power. I don't know how there's not any, because that's made in 1943, so that was a World War II one. So
it's a movie based on World War II and nobody died, man.
Okay, so the quote here on the side says, I just didn't include it in the overall kill count since, it's World War II. There were a lot of deaths, but they were historically accurate deaths. So I don't get that one. Okay, continue. Huh?
If that's a snapshot of World War II, that is a pretty quick snapshot.
That's a pretty quick one, man. The three that's like Casablanca. That was a World War II movie, and did it have anybody die in it? I can't remember. The Three Caballeros, Song of the South. I thought that was Alabama, but apparently not. Fun and Fancy Free. Hey, dude, check it out. Song of the South, Fun and Fancy Free. Don't they have a Fancy Free song? Alabama?
Man, Alabama ripped off Disney.
Dude. They ripped off the mouse. 100.
Where's the movie The Cheap Seats?
101 Dalmatians, 1961. All of the 101 Dalmatians are no-kill movies. The Sword and the Stone. Huh?
Amazing that they survived that car wreck.
Yeah, and then they just remade it with Margot Robbie, wasn't it? She's like 10 ways to find, but whatever. Okay, so now I've never heard, and maybe I have, but I forgot, The Sword and the Stone. Now tell me what that movie's about.
Oh, it's a good one. It's about...
Yeah, but go ahead and elaborate a little bit, Landon.
So there's a sword and a stone.
Yeah, I got that part.
So it's got Merlin in it. I think it's Arthur. He becomes King Arthur after he pulls the sword out. But if he can.
Oh, that's a King Arthur story. Okay.
But there's a part where he gets turned into a squirrel, and this other squirrel falls in love with him, but he can't be with her because he's a human, and that would be that'd be weird.
So I was fixing to say, so they're not killing anybody, but bestiality's cool.
Almost. Well, he was turned into a squirrel.
Okay.
Would have been somewhat natural.
Yeah. Okay, so I'd never seen that one. Okay, The Jungle Book. Now this was
literally just a squirrel trying to get a nut.
I mean, if that's just right on the nose, I don't know what is. So The Jungle Book, 1967. This says The Jungle Book are all no-kill movies. Robin Hood, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. I think there could have been a murder or two in Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Because I never did like the rabbit too much.
It's not much of a adventure.
No, it's not. Yeah. Well, I mean, if somebody got killed, it wouldn't be much of an adventure. So they had The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, and then Winnie the Pooh. That was a 1973 version. Then they had a
fast forward 38 years.
Mm-hmm. And then Winnie the Pooh 2011. And then we end up this list with Zootopia in 2016. Now, I really like Zootopia. It was a hard-hitting film.
man, from 74 to 2010, Disney was like, we're killing somebody in every movie.
Damn right, dude. Well, it was it was after the Vietnam War, so they had to deal with all that kind of psychology. All the directors and writers were coming back from the war, and they had to release some of that energy somewhere. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and the list that has more than 0 deaths, which is in my mind pretty broad, but we're gonna go ahead and start with the very first or the biggest death count, and that is the movie Dinosaur, and this was released in 2000. Total deaths 307,143. Now, why it's that exact, I don't know why. But, and so this list has the title, the release date, the total deaths, the category, and then the details. So, the category was an ecological disaster. So, 2000, global warming that's getting pretty hot and heavy at this point, isn't it? In 2000, weren't they really starting to get the global warming thing going? Yeah, because that was Al Gore. Yeah,
so, right after he created the internet.
Yeah, right. So the details on this thing was, now Dinosaur, I'm trying to remember, when I first read it, I was thinking of The Good Dinosaur, but that was a long time after that. But Dinosaur, did you watch that one?
I haven't seen either one of them.
Okay. Now, The Good Dinosaur is pretty good, but so apparently every lemur on Lemur Island dies after a meteor strike except for one family, the total carrying capacity of Madagascar. The only island in the world to support lemur population is this same number. Sounds like to me they were one family short of really doing a good job. So,
yeah.
Carrying on down. So this list is from most to the fewest. So the next one up, Atlantis, the Lost Empire. Did you ever see this one?
I didn't see that one either.
Okay. So 2001, 35,185 deaths due to a natural disaster. And I guess this was probably, I'm not going to read the whole detail here, but so I'm sure you're familiar with the myth of Atlantis, the underwater city or whatever. So I love how the details, they're like picking at it like it's some actual historical event, because like for the end of the details, it says identifying the sinking of Atlantis from Plato's Critias with the Mount Thera eruption concludes that the movie's prologue accounts for the remaining 35,000, albeit in a possible range from 20 to 35,000 deaths. Now, the death count was always dependent on when the artist got tired of drawing, didn't it? So I mean,
yeah, how much eraser he had left.
Exactly, because we're not really in CGI at this point. Well, and I guess we're starting to get to it because James Cameron had already done Titanic, so whatever the case. And by the way, last week I know I needed to do a drinking game on how many times I said "whatever the case." You would be hammered before the second commercial.
That or nevertheless.
Or nevertheless, yeah. I don't know what it is about that. So continuing on here, we see Hercules. Hercules is 1997, a 20,000 death toll. A man-made conflict, of course, because we're evil. 8 monsters are enumerated from the various labors of Hercules in the movie, but this is dwarfed by the war between the Titans and Olympians, known as Titanomachy. Titanomachy? Huh?
Titanomachy?
Something. Identifying the Titanomachy with the Mount Thera eruption. Oh, so we're crossing over from Atlantis.
And we're really getting historical here.
Uh-huh. This gives an estimated result of 20,000 deaths, taking the lower end of the range due to Greece's distance from the island. I know this wasn't Disney, but was there many deaths in Gilligan's Island? I mean, I didn't watch just very many episodes. I know I watched the first episode and the last episode. And the last
I know the Globetrotters showed up one time and they made it off somehow.
The Globetrotters were on Gilligan's Island?
Yeah.
Did they have the red, white, and blue basketball and the short shorts?
Yeah. They're in uniform.
Did they go doo 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 doo?
I can't remember, and I'm not sure if Gilligan's team beat them, but
Did the professor make a flute out of a palm branch or something?
the
Okay.
professor finally scored.
Yeah, he finally got a piece off of there. Okay, so now the big blockbuster movie here was The Lion King, 1994, 1,660 deaths, ecological disaster. Now this one time, I had a friend Mufasa. And they went on a family safari in Africa.
I had a friend Bernie. Shouldn't this be murder / ecological disaster?
Well, that's what I thought. I mean, I guess. Oh, so if it's animals killing each other, it's ecological, but it's not murder if animals do it. So I don't know why they're getting off so easy there. So King Mufasa is thrown off a ledge into a stampede of wildebeests, and Scar falls into a pit of fire at the end. A zebra and 2 hyenas are killed casually by Scar in preparation for his evil plan. The remaining 1,655 deaths come from an ecological catastrophe when Scar. Oh, okay. Well, this is still induced by a intelligent being, at least in the cartoon universe. From an ecological catastrophe when Scar introduces 137 hyenas into a new ecosystem with little to no natural predators. And this continues for 5 years as Simba ages to adulthood.
And that kind of brings a whole new meaning to Hakuna Matata.
I would say so. So, what kind of stages of life would you say Simba went through? So he grew up with lion privilege. Okay, male lion privilege.
He was a prince.
He was He was inherited wealth, and then. He goes into the next stage. Does he go in like a walkabout, like Crocodile Dundee, where he
gets vanished? Yeah, somewhat.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Okay. So he grows up, and then he comes back and meets up with his old flame or his old hookup or whatever her name was, and I guess he automatically, he imposes his male dominance over her, and she just he just assumes that he's going to have a wife. And then pretty soon he's killing all of the bad guys. So, another one of those white savior deals or something. Even though he is African, that's kind of ironic. But a white savior in an African plane, huh?
137 hyenas can do some damage, man.
Dude, so the last several nights we've been watching for the boys. We've all been watching together. It's the 72 most dangerous animals on the planet. And they break them up into continents like Latin America or whatever, and Asia, and to kind of a wind down, something to watch to wind everybody down for the night. And dudes, there are some freaking wicked ass animals. What was like the fish are the worst, but like these guys have these snakes, and they're like 10 times or 100 times more potent than like a black widow or a rattlesnake or. Anyway, but those freaking anacondas, those are dudes. I mean, they can. What do they have? Those capybaras. They're basically the biggest. They're the biggest rodent in the world. They're kind of like the size of a dog, and they run around the Amazon or whatever. And of course, those anacondas can eat them whole, and they only eat once every 2 weeks. Are you a dangerous animal TV show watcher, Mason Landon?
I like the Deadliest Catch show.
I watched that for about 4 or 5 years, and then I just kept wanting that one captain to get thrown overboard. Keith, he was always a dick. I never did like him too much. I like the old. What was the guy? There was the brothers they were doing. Had the same ship. That one guy was kind of he had the beard and the long hair and stuff. What ship did they run? Anytime, Landon.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, yeah, I watched Deadliest Catch too, but is it still going?
I don't know. I haven't seen it in a couple years.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen it. But anyway, these Deadliest Animal shows are pretty legit, and the I tell you what, you don't want to get into is a freaking poison dart frog. Those some bitches can do some killing. I mean, they're so cool looking too, but they would totally kill you if you wanted to shake a flip or whatever. But back to our list here. So now we're down to we got through The Lion King, And now we're to Mulan. Have you watched Mulan? It was in 1998, 1,468 deaths because of a man-made conflict. And
I probably saw part of it, but not all of it.
so this was based in, I'm guessing, medieval times maybe, during the fictional battle of Mongolian mountains. 11 Huns were killed. So the Huns, I think that was, maybe before the Middle Ages. But they killed horsemen.
I wonder if that's pretty effective for an artillery barrage. 11 Huns.
You would think that would be more than enough. But so it says 11 Huns were killed in the initial artillery barrage, 178 horsemen, 1,048 soldiers in the avalanche caused by Mulan. 200 were killed by the Hunnic raids at the beginning of the movie, and 30 Chinese horsemen died from the surprise attack at the Battle of the Great Wall. At the end of the movie, Shin Yu himself was blown up by fireworks. Yeah, damn Chinese fireworks. Well, guys, we're going to take a break here. We've got one more spot here from FMC, so we're going to let those guys get their 30 seconds in here, and then we'll be right back with more of Disney's Death Machine on the Dryline Farmer Podcast.
It changes everything. So says Indiana corn grower Nathan Davis about innovative Xyway LFR fungicide from FMC. Xyway brand fungicides are the first and only at-plant corn fungicides to provide unprecedented, season-long, inside-out foliar disease protection. Discover more grower and retailer success stories at xyway.ag.fmc.com. Always read and follow all label directions.
Landon, I don't know what those guys' recording equipment is, but it's got to be better than ours, because, I mean, that sounds like it's made in a freaking Hollywood studio. We need to go to FMC and see who their suppliers are on their whole audio equipment. But back here we're back here to Treasure Planet. Now, did you ever? I've never really heard of. Did you ever watch Captain Planet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Was it on Sundays?
Yeah, it came on Sundays, if I remember correctly.
That was like the first. It was a propaganda, basically, wasn't it, for evil humans?
Yeah. You're supposed to like take care of the planet and whatnot.
Yeah. Meanwhile, every kid watching it is eating a hot dog wrapped in petroleum-based plastic, drinking out of a disposable styrofoam cup.
Eating a plastic bag of powdered donuts.
Right, exactly. Or most likely Cheetos. So Treasure Planet came out in 2002, 1,017 deaths, a man-made conflict. So this one has a hotel explosion in the beginning of the movie. It racks up 9 lives, plus a couple of pirates and murder plots sprinkled along the way, making a total of 17. The remaining 1,000 deaths comes from the Acturian treasure ship that was raided and destroyed by Captain Flint in the opening prologue. Home on the Range. I wouldn't have thought there was any. Well, no. So, Home on the Range.
This one's awesome.
Yeah. Why don't you do this one, Landon?
No. You go ahead.
So, Home on the Range, 2004, 304 deaths. The cause was a crime against nature. 304 stolen cows are sold to be slaughtered before they could get saved. Now, that's what we call livestock, isn't it?
This is true.
304. Maybe if they weren't stolen, maybe if the guy that owned them took them to be slaughtered, it wouldn't be a crime against nature. I mean, like, did they have like a Nuremberg trial during this movie, or what was the case? I mean, have crimes against humanity or whatever. So,
man, it's bad enough these cows got stolen, but then they get slaughtered too.
I know. I mean, I swear, dude.
What's funny is if they didn't get stolen, it would probably still just say 304 cows were slaughtered.
Yeah, right. 304 Riley-owned cows were sold to be slaughtered before they could get saved.
Or 304 stolen cows were sold to be slaughtered after they were saved.
Yeah, right. So this is obviously this movie is not allowed to be shown in the Texas and Oklahoma panhandles. So moving on here, we've got Moana. Now, you probably watched Moana.
I have not.
Oh, okay. Your daughter hasn't gotten you to watching Moana yet. Well, I've looked at my phone while the boys were watching Moana, so if that's about as close as I got. But Moana came out in 2016, 261 deaths caused by natural disaster. Now, the only death I remember is when I died when I started hearing The Rock singing. And that was pretty tough. So if you go on, we're going back in time here. This is Melody time, 1948, a man-made accident. And you know there's going to be death and carnage because there's a character in there called Little Toot. Little Toot pushes against the rubber of a steam tanker, causing it to swing out of control and crash into a city block, thus killing an estimated 108 deaths.
Brent, I've almost caused some deaths when I push a Little Toot.
Yeah, I know you have. I've been there. So, Little Toot pushes against the I said rubber. I must be thinking of something else. Little Toot pushes against the rudder of a steam tanker. You think this is one of those first ever black and white movies where everything is black and white except the blood? So it's like those movies. Oh, what do you call them? Like that had Bruce, Sin City. Those movies. They're extremely like kind of almost comic bookish or whatever. And that's not a noir, film noir. That's something else. But whatever the case. That'd be one of the first movies where everybody's black and white except for their blood. So now Pinocchio, this has always been a real interesting one. 1940, 83 deaths, natural consumption. 83 bluefin tuna fish are eaten by Monstro. Now, I do not remember Monstro, which I'm not very well versed in Pinocchio. All I remember is I was being terrified by kids turning into donkeys, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think Monstro is the whale.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. But why are bluefin tuna? They're not even stolen. But I guess it's natural consumption, so I guess they are kind of keeping it somewhat real.
Chicken of the sea.
I guess so. So Brother Bear, 2003, 83 deaths. Natural consumption. So now we're getting kind of into more fish are eaten by bears, so big deal. Bambi. Now, everybody's seen. I don't know if I saw Bambi. It was before I was too old to remember, but it came out in 1942. 81 deaths, ecological disaster. The number of deaths in Bambi's forest is taken as a ratio of the. Okay, again, folks, this is fiction. The number of deaths in Bambi's forest is taken as a ratio of the largest forest fire with a known animal death toll. Namely, the rim fire in 2013. Bambi's mother is shot by a hunter earlier on, making 81 total. So, what kind of death would you call that? Execution, assassination on Bambi's mother?
Because if you're shooting a doe, you need meat. It was probably for survival.
Oh, so it was okay. I can
those
go
guys weren't healthy hunting.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was 1942, and they hadn't invented refrigerators yet, so.
Sure.
So now the Hunchback of Notre Dame, 1996, Newt Rockney and Brian Kelly. No, that's later on. 47 deaths, man-made conflict. Does it ever say how Frodo was it? I guess this is Frollo. YOLO. I wonder they need to come up with an origin story of how he became a hunchback. It would be a whole lot better if it was like a Joker origin story or whatever. Like he fell in like some poisoned grape juice while they were giving communion or something. I don't know, which I guess they don't do grape juice. They do wine. We're the only ones that do grape juice. But I want to see that they could do a crossover between the Hunchback of Notre Dame and the Man in the Iron Mask or whatever. That would really be something I could go with. But so in this movie, when Judge Frollo purges the city of Paris of gypsies, let me start over. When Judge Frollo purges the city of Paris of gypsies, 6 separate houses are burned to the ground for refusing to comply. The Hunchback's mother was beaten to death by Frollo's guards, and Frollo himself fell into a fiery pit. Pack that on several villages killed in the last scene for a grand total of about 47. So maybe he was beaten, just not to death, and that's kind of how he hunched up or whatever. But that was called a man-made conflict. So I guess, so so be that. But so moving on, something more familiar, Frozen, and then we've got The Little Mermaid, Chicken Little, Alice in Wonderland, Make Mine Music. You probably never heard of that. Now, Landon, you mentioned something about The Great Mouse Detective. Now, I never did see The Great Mouse Detective, but there were 4 deaths in The Great Mouse Detective.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen that. It was probably 5 or 6.
So what was the premise of The Great Mouse Detective?
And I can't remember. I assume he was. I assume they were trying to solve a case.
Well, yeah, okay. Can you tell me what Jaws was about? There were some fish.
Yeah.
So we got Peter Pan, 1953, only 2 deaths. Sleeping Beauty, 2 deaths. Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, Lady and the Tramp. I love how Lady and the Tramp, 1, by natural consumption, a rat is mauled to death by Tramp in order to protect the baby's room from it. The Rescuers, Fantasia, Tangled, and finally, the most gruesome death of all the Disney movies, Wreck-It Ralph. 1 death. King Candy, also known as Turbo, was permanently deleted from the system when he died in a game that wasn't his. Man, I saw that movie too, and it was a tearjerker, Landon, I got to tell you. It really tugged at the heartstrings.
Mm-hmm.
And while we're tugging at heartstrings, we're going to tug at your pocketbook because we want to remind you that today's podcast of the Dryline Farmer podcast is brought to you by X-Way brand fungicides by FMC. Yes, I know I don't sound as good as the already made ads, but go ahead and check them out anyway at FMC. What did you think of that, Landon? That was just all improv there.
That was all natural.
Okay. Well, fortunately for Landon, we're gonna get out of here because he just sent me a text like it was some kind of underground meeting and he didn't want anybody else to see it. But but whatever I almost said it. Landon, where can we find you on Twitter?
Notre Landon 44.
And you can find Brent and the Dryline Farmer podcast at Trader Brent. Of course, you can find us all over Facebook, iTunes, all the great places. Of course, via the Global Ag Network. So, guys, until next time, we hope y'all have enjoyed this monster of a death machine factory that Disney's got going on. And until next time, we'll ask you, what side of the line are you on?
The Dryline Farmer Podcast, a member of the Global Ag Network. There's podcasts, and then there's this, the Dryline Farmer Podcast.